would you like to unmute yourselves? Oh, Nick, we've got you here. And then Hamza might have joined quite possibly. Hi, Nick. Hi.
Hello, good to see you.
Nice to meet you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah.
I am promoting Hamza to panelist. You've been promoted, Hamza. If you signed in with the email that with a different email, then it puts you into an attendee.
Yes, there he is.
Here we go. Hi, Hamza. So
hey guys.
Oh, hello.
Sorry, my screen's a bit dark. Sorry, my screen's a bit dark. Sorry.
He's very shy. He's very shy.
Hi, so good to meet you. Okay, so guys, we've got both of you here from Edge Pictures. So for everyone watching Edge Pictures, do you want to tell us a bit about what that is?
Yeah, we are a film production company, script to screen. So we generate ideas and we produce them as well. And we do work for businesses and governments all over the world. A lot of our work is corporate. We do brand films, we do VR, we do commercials, and we do learning as well. So a good range of stuff, mostly short films, 2 to 3 minutes, I would say, is the sort of average length really for what we do. Great,
yeah, that's good. Good for the youth nowadays, very short attention spans.
Yeah, we've definitely found films have got shorter over the years, yeah.
Okay, amazing. And what are your individual roles at Edge Pictures? I know we've got them up on the screen here, but do you want to talk a bit more about what you do?
Well, I'm a production assistant. I work mostly in pre-production and production of corporate films, and mostly in the pre-production and the production. So a lot of like kind of budgeting, casting, and but all done alongside a producer or a production manager.
Interesting, budgeting and casting. I want to get into that in more detail. Nick, quickly tell us more about what you do.
Yeah, I'm creative director here, so I'm responsible for our creative output. So I've got a small team of creatives, and together we generate ideas and write scripts for the majority of the films that we work on. And I also oversee some projects and direct occasionally, that sort of thing.
Amazing. Okay, so Hamza, quickly, I'm going to go to you first because we've got some lovely photos here from your career history. So I asked everyone to send over some photos that basically demonstrated some of the productions that they've worked on or significant moments in their career paths. So Hamza, do you just want to talk really quickly about a couple of these?
Yeah, sure. So those were from university. Pretty much I studied at the University of the Arts London as predominantly a director and editor. So you get to pick one specialism at UAL, but I managed to kind of like slide my way into like 2 of them. And this was from a short film I did in the 2nd year of university, and I basically directed kind of like every year, like up until like the end of the course. And through that, I learned a lot of production and post-production work, especially through the editing, which was hugely beneficial when transitioning into the Edge.
Absolutely amazing. And then when you got into Edge, did you have a look at all the variety of different careers that other people were doing around you, and was it a lot bigger than you thought?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I kind of before university, I kind of only knew the HODs, so like directors, producers, editors, cinematographers. So I didn't have a wide knowledge of a lot of the roles underneath those roles that make the films possible. And I got a bit of that at university, but again, because the course is like quite small, everyone is basically like a HOD. And then once joining the Edge, I kind of got a fuller understanding of, okay, there's actually this role that makes this role possible, and then there's an assistant for this assistant, and it's like once you start realizing how many people are involved in these productions, it becomes a lot less intimidating when trying to get into the industry, because there's this perception of, oh, you have to be a HOD, but it's not necessary, to be fair, especially when trying to get work.
Yeah, that is a wonderful bit of advice there. It's a lot less intimidating when you do realise the variety and the breadth of different things that you can do. Do you want to give a couple of examples of things that you didn't know existed? And then when you came to work at Edge, you were like, oh my God, of course that's a job.
Probably the main one that kind of jumps out at me is like grip in the camera department. So you have this perception that like it's just a cinematographer and then maybe like a camera assistant, and then in the lighting it's like a gaffer. But then you realize there's people who have to put these like kind of camera rigs together. That's obviously a grip. And in university, you just do that yourself. You're not really thinking, oh, there's a dedicated role for this. So you just kind of learn it yourself. So yeah, so there's like grips, sparks, best boys, and all of that I wasn't too familiar with in university. Like they tell you about it, but they don't really teach you about those roles. Certainly when I started working with the Edge and other companies before that I kind of got a fuller understanding of the variety of roles in every department. I mean, you just have to look at the end credits of like any film and how long it lasts, and then you basically like, oh, all these jobs are basically on offer.
Yes, totally. We've actually had that come up already. Look at the end credits of a film, TV show, anything that is a screen, and you will see how many jobs there are.
Sure.
No, absolutely fantastic. And, you know, budgeting and casting, what you do now, lots of people at school will be like, oh my God, I completely didn't realize that that's a thing. So there we go. We have someone here who actually does some stuff that you may not be aware of. So Nick, so talk to us about, you know, the script writing, the direction, all of these things. Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, essentially we get a briefing from a client. So they've got an issue they want to solve in some form or other. You know, they might want to sell more soft drinks, or they might want to make their people more safe at work, or make people aware of something. So you start with what we'd say is the problem. What's the problem we need to solve, and the film becomes a tool to help you solve that thing. So once you get the brief, you then have to think about how can we bring that to life? How can we get that across to people, get them to notice, get them to pay attention? There are considerations. How much time have we got? What's the budget level that we might be able to spend on this? What do we need to feature, particularly when you're working with corporate films? You know, do we need to include anybody? Do we need to interview somebody? That sort of thing. So there's lots of decisions that you have to sort of make. And what you do is come up with lots of ideas, and then you narrow it down to which you think are the best, and possibly present 2 or 3. And we'll create a deck in PowerPoint with some images and maybe some references. We might get some star frames done or storyboards or something like that, depending on what sort of approach we want to do. And then we'll present that to the client, and hopefully they go, yeah, we like that one. And then you're off into production. But the job doesn't stop there, because you then have to refine the idea, the script. You have to take in the client's point of view. What is it that's important to them? We really like this, but that's not quite right. You know, so you don't expect to get it 100% right from the beginning. And that process of developing the script and the idea runs alongside pre-production. So what Hamza's doing is then preparing for that shoot. So once you know what's involved in what's going to go on screen, you can start putting those things in place. Do we have a date for the shoot? Do we put the crew in place? Where are we going to film? Is it studio location? What do we need? Start the casting process. Even if you've not quite finished the dialogue, we know that it's these 3 characters, you know, in a room somewhere. You know, so that's the sort of mechanism, if you like. And so my role sometimes goes all the way through to the end, but other times I'll sort of let other people get on with that, depending on what type of production it is.
Amazing. No, what a great comprehensive overview of how it actually works end to end. So I was talking earlier before you guys arrived about how film, TV and commercial productions are actually very transferable. Lots of people that work on these, you know, that on a commercial production, their skills are also used in film and TV. So all of those people tend to kind of like move around from the kind of entertainment to the commercial world. Do you want to kind of tell us a bit about how transferable those skills are?
Yeah, I mean, the skills are the same. you know, at the end of the day, you're putting, you know, moving images onto a screen. So the principles are the same, whether you're in the camera department, whether you're in sound, whether you're an animator, whatever that is. I think it's just that each form of the medium has a slightly different approach to things, really. So yes, we use a lot of directors who work in commercials, for example, who do some of our corporate films. Some have done TV dramas or documentaries. And ultimately, it's about telling the story. You know, it's about bringing that story to life and using your skills to really elevate that and make that as good as possible along the way. But I think, you know, particularly when you start out, you're not expected to know everything. In fact, we don't expect you to know anything almost. If you've been to film school or uni or whatever, they're great. Or if you've made your own stuff, that's great. But actually, it's more about your attitude, your passion, your dedication, your commitment to wanting to do this job. And going back to your previous, to what Hamza said about intimidating, you know, it's about just giving it a go, really, because the rewards are so great creatively, I think.
Amazing. And actually, as someone, because you will probably, I'm assuming you're in the position of like being able to hire people as well, like as in your decision maker when it comes to who you hire. Lots of the students watching will be, you know, at a point where they are deciding whether to go to uni or not, exactly what they want to do when it comes to taking their next steps, you know, career path wise. Are you able to kind of give some reassurance to that message of, do I need to go to uni or do I not? You know, is it an inclusive industry for people regardless of which route in they've taken?
I would say it's harder if you've not been to uni. I'll be honest about that, but I don't think it's a barrier, if that makes sense. I think if you're keen enough and enthusiastic enough, I think one of our producers used to be a teacher's assistant, you know, so it's about personality, it's about drive, it's about enthusiasm. If you can go and get some basic training in some of those skills and help find what it is that you love, then great. But if you just think, I just want to be in this business because of its, you know, variety and all of that, then I think that's equally good. Sorry, Hamza, I cut you off there.
No, yeah, I totally agree. And I guess it really depends on what you're going to uni for. If you're going to uni to build up your portfolio and just create, then that's like perfect in terms of going into the job field, because you're creating a portfolio and a body of work. But if you're going into uni just for like the qualification and not really thinking so much about the content that you're making, then that's when it could kind of be a bit more difficult, because at the end of the day, these companies, they're going to pick the person who, one, is passionate, regardless of like your portfolio, but also if you display a level of skill or just like a level of passion through creating within your role. It doesn't matter if you're like amazing at your role that you're like creating for, if you're still just like getting into it, or if you're just as long as you're doing it, it shows the company that, okay, this person is worth fostering and kind of building up. But yeah, again, if you just go to uni for the qualification and not think about, oh, the films that you're making, then it's going to get to a point where like you show them the qualification and they're like, okay, great, but what did you make? And then when you show them what you made, and it's just like stuff that you clearly weren't passionate about, then that's when it becomes an issue, I would say.
Absolutely. And, you know, all of the young people watching, you know, they will have access to, I imagine, a phone with a camera on it. And so, you know, there is actually no limitation to being able to create your own short films. You know, they don't have to be high quality. You can start building that portfolio now if you decide that you don't want to go to uni. And exactly what Hamza said, as long as you are passionate about it, that will show through.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, again, there's so many different avenues now creatively to get into that are like purely inexpensive, like music videos especially, and even experimental short films. And if you're fortunate enough to have a grant from uni to like make a short film, or even outside of uni to just like apply for grants and get one given to you, then just take that opportunity, I would say.
Absolutely. And you can find all of those kinds of things on the Eric app as well. Remember, guys, that's literally what we do. We provide access to young people when they're at school or at uni to grants, initiatives, programs, schemes that can help them dip their toe in the water, get experience in the creative industries. That is all we've got time for, guys. Thank you so much both for joining us. As before, if anyone has any questions for Hamza and Nick, please do put them in the chat. We're accumulating all the questions over the course of the next of the day, and then we'll be sending them to everyone afterwards in the hope that they will be able to answer them. Thank you, guys.
Great.
Off we go. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been fantastic talking to you. Really interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks. Bye.